For as long as humans have lived in communities, those communities have thrived on the concept of specialization. Rather than everyone attempting to be competent at everything for themselves, it's far more efficient to exist in large groups where individuals can specialize in unique skills which they share or exchange as services and commodities. There's much more time to become an excellent baker if the person who's passionate about baking doesn't also need to be his or her own carpenter, electrician, teacher, soldier, mechanic, and everything else. The whole of society being greater than the sum of its parts has helped us to develop productive citizens with leisure time and luxury for developing arts and entertainment and more. While some concepts integral to early world community survival have been rendered obsolete in modern times, the principle of specialization is stronger than ever as factors like technology have expedited global communication, transportation, and trade. I no longer need to settle for buying a pair of shoes from the only cobbler in town when I can digitally purchase them from my favorite shoe company in the world and have them shipped to my doorstep from across the world without ever leaving home. Contrast that with the need for me to learn how to make a pair of shoes for myself, personally acquire the materials, then actually cut and stitch them together on my own. Coexistence among a wide breadth of people whose diverse strengths can compensate one another's many weaknesses is, and always has been, the way to go. That being established, I'd argue that we often blind ourselves to the greatest cost that we pay for such efficiency, convenience, and quality. That cost is our personal understanding of every contributing field of existence outside of those to which we belong. Our codependency on each other leaves us blind to just how many intricate and or arduous steps go into the products and services we take for granted daily, not to mention the pleasures that come with them. A common and essential example is our food. How many people purchase produce with an intimate understanding of every step their zucchini took from seed to store? How many of us only eat meat because we can do so without raising and slaughtering the livestock ourselves? The next time you put on a pair of pants, turn them inside out. Look closely at them, how many stitches and pieces of metal and cuts of fabric went into the design and manufacturing of that single article of clothing. Could you engineer, build, or repair the machines used for its mass production? How often do people outside of the textile industry stop to appreciate that? How many people living in buildings have ever built something themselves that needed to be perfectly level and square? How many people with furniture have ever designed, cut, sanded, assembled, stained, and sealed a piece of furniture from start to completion? If we get so used to being good at our own jobs and simply paying others to handle anything beyond our perceived abilities or comfort zones, we run a high risk of developing a passive and toxic form of arrogance. When we only do things at which we have ample experience, it can start to feel like we would be just as good at anything else if we just felt like it. So, how do we reconcile the need for specialization with its costs? There are a couple of ways to help. One is to make a conscious effort to recognize how many areas are outside of our wheelhouse and actively empathize with those who are experts in those fields or providers of those services. Mike Rowe took that concept to the next level in his show Dirty Jobs, where he would walk a mile in the shoes of blue-collar workers whose labor often goes unappreciated. Because human knowledge and activity is so expansive and diverse compared to each individual's capacity for it, each of us is ignorant about so many more things than we're knowledgeable. That makes us highly vulnerable to misconceptions, which can be impressively defeated by talking to experts and or the ones who are on the front lines, getting their hands dirty, figuratively or literally, in any line of work. We don't all have the time and resources of a network television show like Roe did, but we can take a page out of his book and at least have conversations with the people that we meet whose specialties differ from our own, or even watch occasional YouTube videos showing how things are done in different professions to expand our understanding thereof. When you have opportunities, you can greatly improve your perspective of other fields by experimenting in areas where you are unskilled, trying a new hobby, or joining someone you know with a hobby or profession that is conducive to you jumping in as a partner or apprentice. If you've never surfed and your entire knowledge about surfing is that it's riding a board in the ocean waves, you can have your eyes open to a world of new insights by joining a surfer friend for an hour of waves. If you throw yourself more into the hobby, you'll realize subtle differences between different types of surfboards and how they're used. If you talk to more than just one friend, you'll learn a wealth of surfing philosophies from people at different skill levels about things you never even thought of before. Apart from being humbled and enjoying the opportunity to expand knowledge, one of the most exciting things about exploring a new field is how it can alter the way that you look at the world around you. When I began my hobby of woodwork as an adult, I marveled at how many different ways there are to join two ends of wood together. Now I see wooden objects with new eyes. It doesn't just feel like a layer of ignorance has been removed, it feels like a lens of knowledge has been added. I'm still just a novice with wood, but when I see a piece of furniture, I look for techniques by which its pieces were cut and assembled, what kinds of wood were used, Did they use box joints or butt joints on those corners? Was it finished with stain or oils? Did they seal it with lacquer, shellac, polyurethane, or something else? Sometimes we can give a new experience a fair shake and learn that it's not for us. There's nothing wrong with that either, as we still walk away with an appreciation for what goes into that practice by us trying it ourselves. Last year I had an opportunity to try stand-up paddleboarding for the first time. Thanks to an excellent instructor, I didn't fall off the board and the experience wasn't unpleasant. It's just not something I desire to do again. That being said, it certainly gave me an upgraded appreciation for what goes into stand-up paddleboarding when I see it done or hear people talking about it. I know that there's more balance and skill to it than what I understood as a layman observer. So I consider it wise to remain humble about things we don't fully understand. It's even wiser to find people with deep understandings of multiple sides of topics that can alleviate our ignorance. It's wiser still to experiment outside of our comfort zones with growth mindsets, because if nothing else, many people would be amazed at how fun it can be to be uncomfortable.